Welcome to Mosaic Minds, the podcast where every episode is a colorful blend of perspectives, ideas, and conversation. Each week, our diverse team of hosts brings their unique backgrounds, experiences, and interests to the table. Mosaic Minds is your invitation to join the conversation to see the world through a kaleidoscope of viewpoints. So grab a seat, tune in, and let the mosaic unfold before you. Welcome to another episode of Mosaic Minds Podcast. My name's Nick, and this is Jason. And today we're excited to welcome M. Curtis McCoy to Mosaic Minds. M. Curtis is a personal branding expert, a best-selling author, motivational speaker, and the president of Newswire magazine. He's built successful companies across multiple industries and has an incredible story of overcoming adversity. Curtis is passionate about helping others reach their full potential, whether it's through speaking engagements or his show, Success, Motivation, and Inspiration, which he hosts on Amazon Fire TV. And it's also worth mentioning that he's achieved all of these things despite battling type 1 diabetes and surviving a brain tumor with a 0% survival prognosis. So, Curtis, welcome to the show. Can you go ahead and just kind of give us a background of you and like how you started, how you got to where you're at now, and just some of the big moments in your career?
Yeah, man, I wanted to start off by telling you, Nick and Jason, both, thank you guys so much for having me on the Mosaic Minds podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for being
just checking you guys out. Just subscribe to you on YouTube.
Great.
Looks like you're doing got some really cool interviews on there with just different unique stories and stuff. And
it's very broad topics.
Tattoo studio while you're doing the interview. So basically, I do personal branding, like you said, for authors, entrepreneurs, motivational speakers, podcast hosts, any type of leader who is crushing it in life and business but needs more exposure. So we do, I speak at events all over the country. I've spoken at Caesar's Palace, consulted with the United States Federal Trade Commission on the Sprint T-Mobile merger, kind of cool stuff like that. But my main focus is helping people expand their brand. So whether that's earned media, where you're doing things to actually earn the media coverage, or paid media like what I offer with Amazon Fire TV, Newswire magazine, putting people on the 96-foot billboard in Times Square, New York. It's
Nice.
all just about helping leaders who are good people doing good business, helping them gain more exposure so they can do more business with more good people.
Now, just real quick question: how does that work? I'm just curious with the Times Square billboards and that kind of thing. Do you like purchase a certain time frame, or like is it kind of like a lease and then you sublet it with your spin on it, or how does that work? I'm just curious.
So that's a great question. We actually have that's something that I pay out of pocket from the Newswire brand. So if you share your story on our Amazon Fire TV show, we put that on Newswire magazine. And anybody who's featured on the cover of Newswire magazine, I am paying to put those covers on the Times Square billboard. And, they have social media links, whatever. But the main thing is that's not costing my guests anything additional.
Yeah.
It's just something where, obviously, if you have a real goofy looking picture to put on the cover, I mean, we're not going to put you on the cover if you look funny. But as long as you've got a good cover that is good for the brand, I mean, I'm paying for that out of pocket to boost the Newswire brand, which also means you've got a 4K YouTube video of yourself running, 24/7 anytime you want to run that, if you want to put that embedded on your website or whatever. But it's not something I'm selling, like reselling as a service. You can't approach us and say, I want to put my billboard on, or I want to put my company on that billboard. It's once you're featured on Newswire magazine, I'm putting the cover on it for you.
Gotcha.
When you work with multiple platforms and agencies and things, and you're kind of the kingpin of that, like how do you kind of manipulate or kind of funnel it to where that person is that person? I guess what I'm trying to ask, let me recut that. If you look at the personality that you're working with and the business owner, what personality do you like working with? Do you like the know-it-all? Do you like the organized person? Do you like the, hey, chop and dice as you want? I'm going to let you expand upon that.
Basically anybody. I mean, I get along with pretty much everybody. I've kind of been not to get off the subject here, I grew up in an abusive household, had kind of rough upbringing and stuff, really had to learn to be a people pleaser and learn to connect. But I think that was actually a blessing, because whether you're the driven, myself, I'm a driven, real get to the facts kind of a guy. But I can get with somebody that I've had a lot of people who are just publishing their first book. They're soft spoken, calm, sweet, whatever. So I kind of, as far as the personality type, as long as you're a good person doing good business and not misleading or trying to steer somebody astray or whatever, I'm good with whatever your personality type, as long as you're helping people.
Well said. 100% agree with that. I think you live the Mosaic life, though. You're taking people from all walks of life, not just a specific client. So I think that's neat. I think Nick has one for you as well.
I was just going to ask about, because this was probably one of the most shocking things to me is, like, talk about a winner, somebody that can beat a malignant brain tumor that has a 100% fatal prognosis. So if you could talk a little bit to us about some of those adversities, even like considering your type 1 diabetes and then your malignant brain tumor, and how did that shape your approach to life and then even to your business?
I try not to talk a whole lot about these struggles. I mean, everybody has junk they're going through, whether that was being abused as a child, going through brain cancer like I did, diabetes, maybe it's a serious injury, maybe it's a husband or wife or a significant other cheating on you, just absolutely destroying your world with heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you had family member, parents, kid, somebody pass away in your family. We all deal with stuff that sucks, but I think there's a European band reached out recently. I don't know if you've heard the clip on the Instagram show. I mean, on the Instagram channel. But I actually had a band reach out, and they wanted some type of a quote, me to give them a spoken quote to embed it or to incorporate in one of their songs. And the quote that I come up with, just that I gave them that ended up turning into an actual song on Spotify and Pandora and stuff, was saying winners, or the difference between winners and losers. Losers use their past as an excuse not to be something better. Losers use their past as an excuse. Winners use it as a reason to become something better.
100% agree
Love
with
it.
that. I think it was Woody Allen that was said, because it's all perspective, right? So like you said, whether it's an abusive household or a spouse cheating or whatever, it's all relative to how bad you've had it. So like, something that might seem minor to someone else might be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So Woody Allen had a quote. He said something like, if comedy is when somebody cuts their finger, tragedy is when I cut my finger, or something like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's all relative.
I was a guest on a guy's show a couple of years ago here. I mean, I'm doing 6+ interviews a day right now.
Wow.
But a couple of years ago, I was a guest pretty early on, and I was talking about the abuse and overcoming brain cancer, diabetes, and growing up with my dad handing me a pistol, telling me to do the world a favor, those kind of things. And I'm thinking, man, this is some groundbreaking, trauma stuff that this, it's really going to inspire the audience that they can do whatever they want in their life. And so this kid started sharing how he had grown up, been, his mom had stabbed him in the kitchen stabbed him in the kidney with a steak knife and sawed off one of his fingers with a steak knife before he was taken away by Child Protective Services, and ended up in foster home after foster home. Talked about being molested and raped by multiple different men that were supposed to be taking care of him and stuff. And this is a guy that has achieved a lot in his life, super successful. But that was kind of a moment there when I was going, you know what? This guy, I looked at him because he's a leader, because he's accomplished all this crazy stuff. But then as he opened up and started sharing, I went through a little bit of that kind of stuff as a kid too. And hearing his story, thinking, I need to quit focusing on the negative stuff that happened to me and realize that's just an excuse. If you're not, if you're using your past as some kind of excuse, that's your fault. You can't control what happened to you, but you control what happens from now on.
Being a sports guy and being raised by, school teachers, my dad was a school teacher in sports, but I'm going to take a little bit of a sports reference real quick. So when certain high jumpers attained a certain thing, or like a miler broke the mile of 4 minutes for the first time, I think you understand that once that 4 minute mile was busted, it got busted many times in short proximity. Before it's busted, everybody ran it, nobody broke it. So the question I have for you is, when you're looking at your next project or your next hurdle, your next horizon, your next accomplishment, how does that busting the 4-minute mile translate into your business world of what you see as the next horizon, that mirage at the end of that desert?
That's something I did for years and years. Whenever I'd come up with a new idea, whether it was the cosmetic medical laser clinic, the pharmaceutical company, the Christian clothing company, the nutritional supplement company, each of these different businesses, I was always trying to come up with different ideas, different stuff. With the research peptides, we're manufacturing bioidentical injectable research peptides. We were trying to figure out new stuff that had never been invented, something that's going to change the world. What I've figured out now is, I guess I'd say at this stage in my life, I'll probably change my mind in the future as I learn and grow some more. But at this stage of my life, I see, as long as you are solving problems for somebody, it doesn't matter what it is, you don't have to solve it differently. Or there are so many people out there that have things that need to be, things that they need to change. You really don't have to be completely unique or have your own, not that you're copy and pasting somebody else's stuff, but if you're solving a problem and you're catering to an audience, a specific individual, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just do what works and keep studying, keep learning, keep working to make sure that you're the best at whatever you're offering.
That's tough for people. And I bet it's tough for Jason too, but you seem like I'm sure you're probably a competitive guy. I'm certainly competitive. I know Jason's competitive, but that's a tough one though, being a competitive person to not want to, one up the lateral brand or whatever. Is that something that's tough for you to do as well?
It was for years. I mean, for example, say you're playing baseball. We've got our 7-year-old, my girlfriend's 7-year-old kid. I would like to be his stepdad here soon. Like to make him a permanent part of the life there. But with him, watching a 7-year-old try to come up with his own ways to swing the bat better and how to, if he spins it and does a full circle like that, like you don't need to. There's a ton of people over history that has perfected the sport. Just follow what works, and maybe he's a little bit shorter, a little bit whatever. So adapt that strategy to your own thing. But I really don't think you got to reinvent stuff now. Just there is very few things that have not been created. Even like with artificial intelligence now, there's so many things that we can improve upon. But if we're starting from scratch, trying to reinvent how business is done, you're gonna have a whole lot harder time creating a market than you will just being the best in your market or the best for your clientele.
So I got the excitement to get the opportunity to speak with you tonight. You've dealt with some high profile people. I'm not going to personally name drop, just in case you want to keep that on the private side. Not asking you to name drop, you can, but I'm more interested in, if I'm with you at an event and you're speaking to Fortune 500 execs, you're speaking to people that have some power in the world, what's your mindset 15 minutes before stage? What's your mindset like the first word out of your mouth when you're talking to said group in a small environment or a large environment?
The first rule of being a podcast guest is you're not supposed to say that's a great question. But man, that was a great question. That's one that I have not been asked, I don't think ever. My mindset, so surviving brain cancer, I got up. I've had companies like Keller Williams hire me to speak at their events, and years ago I would try to memorize a speech. So I would tell somebody, if you're planning on being a highly paid speaker today, that's not why I'm on the podcast, but if you're trying to be a highly paid speaker, get your speaking strategy, figure out whatever works best for you. As a brain cancer survivor, I have a heck of a time memorizing a sentence, let alone, an entire 30-minute speech. But for years, I'd try to memorize. I'd go through maybe 100 times, record myself. And so by the time I've gone through the speech 100 times, and I still can't memorize word for word what the speech is supposed to be, I get up there, I'm fumbling and stumbling, trying to figure it out. Most people, if you've got a good memory, haven't survived brain cancer, you go through a speech, practice it enough. Here's the point I want to land on. Here's where I want to give a specific pause and really let it sink in. For me, my recommendation would be just know your subject good enough. I'm speaking on personal branding. whether that's earned media, paid media, how to drive the most traffic to your website, whatever it is. As long as you know your subject, what I'll do with my speech is I'll write out the first few bullet points, like, here's the topics that I know that I want to cover in that speech, and then just get off and start talking. And maybe I'm looking at different audience members, and if somebody raises their hand or they seem like they're interested, I'll maybe call them out and see how I can actually speak directly to them. Solving a problem for one specific person makes it a lot easier to help the entire audience than trying to just help everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unlike other, I don't call it profession, but other things, I would say that, and maybe you disagree with me, but I would say that not everybody can be a public speaker. I mean, would you say that that's true? Or would you say anybody has the ability?
So this is coming from a guy who I woke up out of a coma, had lost the ability to communicate, could not speak, couldn't write. They handed me a paper and I was trying to write out a sentence, and I could get words down the page. But when they turned it around, it was kind of like a stroke victim where you'd read it and it was not at all what I saw myself writing. So I'd take it back, cross the thing out, try to write it again. I'm the president of our local Toastmasters here. We got 3 different clubs,
Nice.
and they've 2 years in a row. This last year, I didn't even run as president. I didn't even put my name in the hut. I'd had multiple surgeries. I came back and they had voted me in as president again, even though I hadn't even ran for the office. So that's coming from a guy that lost the ability to communicate. I could not speak. I couldn't say my name. I had lost 9 months worth of memory. So I started doing the Toastmasters group originally, just trying to figure out how do I get to where I can communicate again. And that's the same reason I started a podcast years ago, like 2016, 2017, just figuring out how do I have a conversation where I don't sound like an absolute moron tripping over my words and can't complete a sentence. And I would say, again, not focusing on the struggles, but if I can get through that, losing the ability to communicate and coming back to where I'm doing guests on dozens of podcasts, TV, radio shows a week, I would say if you're not doing it, unless you have a complete inability to communicate, that's your fault for not taking the steps and doing the work.
So fear is not an excuse. So it's more or less, if you have the ability to actually speak, then there's, in theory, you could do something like that. But my point was just going to be, I'm sure you've heard the saying that if you're not lying, you don't have to remember. So you'd mentioned being knowing your brand. So if you're being authentic and you're being yourself, you don't have to play a character. You just get up there and talk about what it is that you're going to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, if you know your subject, if you're qualified to speak at an event. So for example, if I'm speaking on personal branding, whether that's at Caesar's Palace, at an event, wherever it is, if I'm speaking on personal branding, or say you're sitting in the audience listening to somebody speaking on personal branding, you Google that person, you can't find their name. You look for them on Instagram. There's a bunch of profiles. You can't tell for sure which one they are. You search Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, the Coup app in India, whatever. If that person isn't showing up, isn't absolutely flooding the market, they're probably not qualified to speak on the topic. So if you're hiring a plumber, maybe the guy's a good plumber, but if he's teaching you how to build a plumbing business and you can't find him on Google, he's probably not the guy to teach you how to build that business that he's telling you can teach you.
Right. Well, speaking of the personal branding, just to kind of give a really short overview of it, what would you say are some of the key components of building a strong personal brand, and how do you think entrepreneurs could start crafting their own if they were to just YouTube University it?
So if you're a guest right now listening to Mosaic Minds, the podcast on YouTube or on Apple Podcast, wherever you're watching this, there's 2 different people that I typically talk to. One is the expert who is already very successful, already crushing it. They've built up, maybe you're making 7 figures a year on your business, and the only thing that's holding you back from reaching more people and getting more business is people knowing about you. So if you're already running a successful business like that, your hourly rate, what you could make doing what you're already an expert at, is going to be a whole lot more than what it would cost to hire a branding expert who could just do it for you. But if you're getting started, you're listening to Mosaic Minds, trying to figure out how do I build my personal brand? How do I start? I've just launched my business. I don't know where to go. That's something you can, don't use your lack of equipment, lack of knowledge, lack of whatever as an excuse. You could have, I mean, you can start a podcast from a junk Android phone,
Mm-hmm.
just doing a selfie video, like an Instagram type of video. Um, so depending on where you're at, if you're already an expert, you've already got the money coming in, research somebody, find a good personal branding person who can help you. I'm one of them, but there's a whole lot of other experts that are really great at personal branding as well. If you're just getting started, start providing value over and over and over again, whether that's, maybe you're a writer, you're real good at blogging, real good at writing articles, and you've got a website on whatever your topic is. What would happen, imagine, if you posted every single day, come up with something that your target, you figure out who your target listener is. I mean, down to the point of, their age, income, gender, marital status, maybe religious beliefs, maybe even their ethnic background, what they like to do for a hobby. And if you're talking to that one person specifically, here's how you solve your specific problem. Now you narrow that down to one problem and you start writing articles about that a single article that day. And you've just absolutely solved that problem perfectly for your target audience, for your one target client. Then the next day you come up with another topic that same person might be struggling with, and you write another cool, just perfectly optimized article about how to solve that problem for them. The next day, you come up with another problem that person may be struggling with. If you start solving that problem for that individual person, you'll have a lot of other people that go, I'm not a 35-year-old woman with 2 kids, but I am a 42-year-old guy. And that
relationships matter.
That advice works.
Yep.
Yeah. So just start providing value over and over and over again. Even if you don't have a product to sell yet, provide value, like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, where if you provide enough value, pretty soon people are going, when they think of somebody that's in your industry, they've got that kind of a problem, you're the expert that they're looking for. And then that's where you start monetizing your solution.
Hey, play along with me here. What's a favorite musical artist? Stuff, you just throw a random one out at me.
I like CCR, Leonard Skinner, a lot of the old stuff.
Man, that's funny. CCR, I'm not going to tell it now, but I was out at Del Mar Racetrack and was listening to CCR about 20 years ago, and it was actually them. They kind of reinvented themselves because one of the band members. So the question I have is, we're at a CCR concert. They're taking 15-minute intermission. I bump into you and I recognize you. Give me a synopsis of what it means or what Newswire magazine does to those that maybe haven't heard of it before. This is kind of your time to throw out and educate the audience at large about that.
So if I was giving you kind of a short, maybe say not an elevator pitch, but if you're just asking me and I had a few minutes to talk to you, what I would do with you, if you were trying to get featured, you're successful, you're already crushing it, you're needing to get the paid media attention, we would get on a call, kind of like we're doing right now on your podcast, but Amazon Fire TV call. So 4K video interview. I would research you first, make sure I know everything about you to highlight you as an expert in your field. So I'd get your name, your background, what your history is, your company information, everything you've done, everything you've accomplished, put together a list of questions like you guys did for me to highlight me as an expert on your show. And then as we're asking questions, we're doing that on, instead of a podcast, it's Amazon Fire TV. Basically, we'd go through there and then we send that interview off for professional editing, multi-camera, cutting back and forth, making it look more like a TV show. Syndicate that to Amazon Fire TV. Then we take that same thing. I'd send that off. We write an article about your expertise. So not like a video transcription. It's a whole separate article. Do a featured article in Newswire magazine, put you on the cover of the magazine. We'll take those magazine covers, and then I pay to put those on the 96-foot billboard in Times Square, New York. Each of those articles have do follow search engine optimized links coming back to your website, whether that's your personal brand or your business page, driving search traffic. And then our average articles right now, because we're doing social syndication, we do RSS syndication to other sites, a lot of different social media marketing. Our average article is getting over 100,000 readers per month on that article. So really good traffic for you. But then also that search engine optimized traffic where you've got the do follow links that are that are driving traffic and domain authority back to your website.
I think what I'm going to say is, and I'm going to butch up the quote, but essentially, if you're building a skyscraper and it's 125 stories high, you gotta know what floor 125 does before you bust ground and build the foundation. What's cool about you is you've taken this several layers farther than what my mind can even comprehend, because I'm pretty simple. I throw it on social media. I get groups that I'm not for. I network over here. It's just amazing how you have 3 or 4 layers more that's out there that I didn't even realize was out there until the conversation we're having. So that's a tip of my cap, from us to you on that.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, SEO has always been the most fascinating and confusing thing that I've come across. I mean, because you find so much stuff about it, and then some of it's like you have to, like a math problem, you have to figure out what this means in order to even understand what they're saying in the first place. How did you get started? Like, what have you always been into online networking and things like that? And like, how did you get started doing SEO and doing personal branding and all that?
So one of my companies, the one that has made the most impact, I owned Best Cellular, the telecommunications company, for just over 10 years. We were competing with, you mentioned one of the retailers earlier that, I won't say I'm on the podcast, but before our call, you're talking about the major online retailer. They were spending $1.2 million a month in the month of December leading up to the Christmas season on cellular related stuff, whether it was new iPhone, new Samsung Galaxy, whatever. They were spending $1.2 million a month. We outranked them out over 1,000 separate search terms the year that we finally shut down the business. They're spending $1.2 million. We did that with zero ad budget. I had 2 guys that were full-time writers. So 5 days a week they come in. All they did was write articles, helping people, just putting out over and over and over again. We had almost 900 pages of search engine optimized content on the internet, anywhere from 800 to 3,500 word articles, just dialed down completely, answering somebody's question. We still own the largest SIM card database on the internet for all the Sprint UICC matrix. Sprint.com. Sprint's gone out of business, merged with T-Mobile. We had the largest Sprint database on the internet. Every single SIM card that was ever invented, along with every single Sprint cell phone that was ever on the market, all connected together, where when somebody Googled it, our page showed up and you get the traffic from it. But the way that I learned that, the way I got into it, was just figuring out, hey, if I can get good enough at SEO, writing articles, putting out beneficial information for people, then pretty soon, hey, I start getting a few search hits off that, to the point where we started hiring professional copywriters that were sitting there in the office all day, every day, writing articles. And then now with clients, you'll have to see this computer off to the right of me. It'll run up to 8 monitors. I've only got 4 monitors on that one, 4 on the one in front of me right now, but it is running the biggest, baddest processor, dual GPU, just a monster that's going to run 24/7, optimizing using AI to optimize client sites, writing articles, doing backlinks and stuff. I mean, it's basically, they call it gray hat, but it's basically black hat. It's against the all the search providers' terms of service. But this computer, once we've got it all programmed and built out correctly, it will write content that is as good or better than humans could. And it's writing it 24/7, thousands of articles a day, building thousands of links.
Nice.
And so, I mean, it's something where, again, the machine has to be built specifically to solve problems. So in writing articles, it's coming up, it's brainstorming thousands of different topics. It's searching those against what people are actually searching on Google right now, looking for solutions for. And then now, as we start writing articles, like I'm bringing on an electrical contractor right now, a new guy he's been an electrician for years, but now he's trying to start his own electrical company, just getting his first few trucks, first few employees and stuff. So that's what we're doing for him, is all day, every day, this is going to start putting out content that's writing tips, short blog posts, social media posts, different things about where he just absolutely floods the local market here. So at any time anybody thinks of electrical work, they need a new light switch installed, want a new ceiling fan, want an attic fan, whatever it is, that's going to be the guy that shows up over and over and over again as the expert. So now who gets hired when you're going, hey, this guy's solved. I mean, he give me thousands of tips over the years here. Every time I look on the internet, this guy's providing some kind of beneficial stuff about electrical work.
And this
When you
machine, it know like it's constantly looking to see what some buzzwords are and what people that are looking. Like it does some of that kind of research as well, or is it mainly just to be the writer?
so this one we've got integrated with the Chat GPT, with the OpenAI's API, or application programming interface, that is actually doing research.
Okay.
So I've got to go in weekly, and for every individual client, I can only bring on a maximum of 5 clients a month, because this is, once a week I'm going in and completely tuning up that client stuff. But basically, you're feeding it. If you don't exist online, you're the most difficult customer to start with. But somebody who's already been putting out good content, if you've been interviewed, you've already had articles out, any type of AI. I mean, you could get on Chat GPT and build a custom GPT. I think it's like $25 a month for a subscription. You could build a custom GPT that researches you. So gets on it, searches Nick Williams, everything you've ever said, every podcast you've ever been on, anything that's publicly available online, search it and then write it in your tone of voice with your expertise. So it's just a matter of knowing how to ask the right questions to make the machine do what it's supposed to be doing.
Right.
But artificial intelligence is not intelligence at this point. It's not a sentient being. It's basically just taking the sum of all human knowledge that's publicly available and trying to sort through that and find the best information.
It's amazing.
So the question I have, trying to avoid a buzzword, but I'm going to use one: algorithm and SEO. I'm going to merge those kind of at the highway intersection. Okay. From what I understand in my world, the algorithms change on the profile, on the content. So like YouTube is going to have a different algorithm every X amount of days. How are you researching to stay one step ahead of your competition when those platforms randomly change the algorithm that they have?
Man, you need to grab a cup of coffee sometime.
I was going to say, that was a fantastic question, Jason. That was great.
Yeah, that's you're messing me up as far as not telling you that was great questions, but
I'll do it for you, Curtis.
If you're talking to an SEO guy who is trying to stay a step ahead of the algorithm, they've probably got the wrong outlook. I mean, this is me saying this,
Good
but
answer.
they've probably got the wrong outlook on search engine optimization, because if you're trying to trick the search engines, it is unbelievable. I mean, if I'm trying to trick the search engines, it's me against Google, who's got, I don't know how many employees, a lot more employees than I could fit in this place, that all day, every day are looking for scammers, looking for people that are trying to trick the algorithm. What we're doing is we're building custom machines that are doing human work alongside, using the sum of all human knowledge, writing in your tone of voice, solving problems. For example, Google could care less whether it's AI or a human that wrote the article, as long as it's the best solution. Their entire job, their entire way to keep people on the platform is by providing the best answer, so that somebody doesn't go, man, I've searched Google 5 times this month and they're always showing me some junk. And so they switch to Bing. I mean, as long as you're providing the best information, they're going to keep showing the thing. I mean, keep showing your results. But it's again, I've talked to guys that are saying, well, AI, Chat GPT spits out junk articles. There's no way to get good content out of it. It's like, you're asking the wrong questions. If you've built a custom GPT where it tells it the list of common buzzwords, the phrases, maybe you've got a multi-step GPT where you go from one, you take that output, paste it in the next GPT that's humanizing the content, removing buzz phrases, all the filler words, filler phrases, the context and pretext, and all the stuff that ChatGPT spits out. You could make, with enough manual input, you could make ChatGPT spit out absolutely phenomenal content that's going to be better than the vast majority of all humans can write. So when you've got a computer that's got an AI chip built in and tied in using different APIs, you're going to come out with, I mean, it's like hiring multiple grad students who are absolutely an expert in that field and then telling them, okay, now study me, write in my tone of voice, but use your unlimited experience or, unlimited knowledge and write it in my tone of voice.
One of our early episodes that we did on AI, And what I'm thinking is, because we were talking about, the future of education and writing papers and things like that. I know they have these AI detectors and all that stuff, but I think that the way that the future of it will go is that they'll start educating people on how to, like you said, ask the questions as opposed to not using AI. Because I think it's so important that whether we love it or hate it, that you have to embrace whatever the newest technology is, because it is the future. And if you want to remain competitive and you want to stay beside everybody else, you gotta take advantage of it.
Whoever is manufacturing the old buggies to put behind a horse, I guarantee hated Henry Ford and the folks that were making automobiles. Going, oh, this is dangerous. It's unsafe. These go way too fast. The horns are loud. The motors make, the engines make noise. But there's a small segregated section of the population now that's still only riding horses.
Sure.
But again, you get in what you put out. That's just like saying a certain industry. You go, well, fast food doesn't pay. I don't want to go flip burgers, whatever. Look at the folks at Chick-fil-A that are now franchise owners.
Yeah.
They started out flipping fries. They worked for 5 years, whatever, got their license, became a franchisor. Became a franchisee. But fast food will pay you just like anything else. You just have to do all of the work, be the hardest worker at it, do the best thing. And anything will pay off. Anything can get you the right results if you're.
I try to always take a step into the life of the people we're interviewing, and the mosaic kind of molds together, because what I find is that people have a lot of similarities. So what I'm sitting here thinking and trying to evaluate with you, if I can judge you a little bit, but I think I want you to agree or disagree. You strike me as the type person that could be in a room full of executives, right? You have no technology with you. You're not trying to woo anybody. And you just talk as the industry expert for 30 minutes with no fancy anything. I think you would command a room. I think they would understand what you're talking about. I think you would hit with precision. I think you would develop it, and I think you would incorporate a sense of confidence after that meeting. Am I right or wrong when I give you that explanation?
That's probably the kindest description I've ever had of myself. But I don't know that I should agree with you on that. But I would love to use that video quote to just sell myself. I'll use that as my elevator pitch.
I'll give you permission. It's our show, but it's your show. But what I'm trying to say to you is I really like that you can talk above my head and get me to think about stuff that I've never thought about. But when it comes down to it, what I was trying to articulate there, it comes down to it, if you're the industry expert and you're compassionate, and I'm using more inflection right now because I'm excited to tell you this, you just really hit right directly at people. It doesn't matter if you have a PhD or no formal education. If you know it, you know it, and they want to know it. So it's like I liken it to an offensive coordinator that's got a Hall of Fame quarterback. Let's be real brutally honest. We're in Indianapolis here, but, I don't know if you follow football, but Peyton Manning, I don't think was real hard to coach. Give him the playbook, let him shred it up, run some audibles. All I'm trying to say is I think you have the playbook. It's just a matter of what you do, staying ahead of the trends, working hard, and you take pride in your craft. You're always looking to get better. You're not satisfied with where you are. You're 400,000 or whatever. You're looking to expand that. Answer this for me, because this is a conversation that Nick and I have had probably 10 times. When we have aspirations to have those future numbers, isn't it so much easier when you have 250,000 to go to 350,000 versus going 10,000 to 16,000? Walk me through that progression from a mindset standpoint, if you don't mind.
Man, so when we initially launched the first Facebook group, I run dozens of Facebook groups now. A lot of them are running these on another automation machine, not the one that I'm running here. But getting from, we're gaining thousands of members a day. When you joined up the other day, I think we were at like 414,000 some members. Mm-hmm. We've gained 5,000 members in the last few days.
Wow.
You're absolutely right. We spent when I was building out Best Cellular, building out the Success, Motivation, Inspiration Facebook group, and I knew that was something I wanted to get into, whether that was another business or just to help inspire people. I built out custom machines, my developer, actually, I didn't build them out. I had my developer build out custom firmware to flash onto these Android tablets. You've probably seen them, like when you check out at the gas station, or maybe you're at a pizza place and it says to put in your phone number for a free coffee refill the next time. We built things like that where people could select the channels that they're already active on: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever they're active. And then so they'd type in their phone number, select the channels they're active on, click submit, and then it would send them a text. You had to ask if it was okay to text them or not. So I'd incentivize my employees at each of my retail stores. Whoever got the most people daily would win a little bonus. We did pizza parties. We'd take everybody out to steak dinner. Okay, if we can get 100 new members to the group this month, I'm taking everybody out for a steak dinner. So we'd get all the retail stores, go buy everybody steak. We had a heck of a time getting to the first 1,000 members. I mean, it was all day, every day. We'd call in. Okay, who's got the most stores? Hey, I know for a fact we got 7 people to sign up in the group today. But yeah, once you get to that, I mean, you got to be pretty resourceful, just figuring out how to incentivize, how to keep providing value. Where now, as the group keeps getting bigger and bigger, you've got thousands of posts a day coming in that are helping people. Pretty soon, people are automatically just accidentally finding you and joining.
Is that because it's going up higher in the algorithm, or is that because of credibility, or both?
That is quality content. So if you do a good job moderating, getting rid of junk, and then once you're gaining 5,000 members in a week, pretty soon there's enough content where you can really filter out and get rid of the junk and just leave the good stuff, and people find good content. I had a guy from India the other day posted something on the group there, invited me as a collaborator invited my page as a collaborator. And so I posted his little video, and we had like 1,800 likes. I mean, thousands of comments, thousands of likes, 1,800 comments. People are sharing. Wow. This thing just exploded. And it's not even something that I would have, I'm like, yeah, it was okay. I just posted it to help the guy out. And that's one of our most viral posts right now. But it's because you got so many good people that are working together, trying to post value for everybody else.
We talk a lot on the show about success, and I like to think we have pretty successful people on most of the time. That's typically who we're trying to, because we want to be, more like them, and I think you should always surround yourself with people that are more successful than you. So as a success mindset, how would you define success, and what mindsets do you feel like people need to achieve it?
At this point in my life, I've done the thing where I worked 80 to 100, 112 hours a week, just no friends, no family, the only reason for my existence was working and generating more jobs and generating more, I had 250,000 customers a month at the website. At this point in my life, I'm making a lot less money than I ever have when I was running the companies like that. But at this point in my life, I'd say success is being able to positively impact people's lives, do something that's helping people. And even if that's a matter, getting to a point where you're not so hungry to chase the dollar that, for example, if I've got a leader on, if I've got a guy, an author that's on or maybe a motivational speaker, and the guy's talking, and off camera, he's talking about how he's able to close everybody. He can milk a grandma for her he can milk a grandma, take her rent money to get her to buy this course. And now on camera, he's talking about, here's the reason you need to sign up for this, whatever. Get yourself successful enough that you've got the ability to turn away clients.
Love it.
And not, I go, man, oh my gosh, I got to figure out how to pay rent too. I got to do business with this guy, even though I know he's a dirtbag. Get yourself to a point where the finances are not the thing that makes you make decisions that you're not trying to make.
Virtual fist bump on that one. So, the question that I would have for you is, in Indiana, it gets cold in the winter, man, and I'm going to put my nicest coat on the coat rack, right? So bear with me. What do you feel like Mosaic Minds Podcast can hang our hat on, or hang our coat on, as maybe our calling card? When you were watching through, what did you see in that? And then I'm going to follow that up with a question for you.
So I love that you're able to bring together so many different, like you said, a mosaic. You've got so many different viewpoints and mindsets. And like in my 4th book, I asked the same list of questions to a whole bunch of different guys, from the inventor of the MP3 player to founder of a church to, ex-convict guy that used to be a pimp and a drug dealer, asking him the same. And now he's become a successful internet marketer, and he's actually turned his life around. But I asked him all the same set of questions to get their insights on success, leadership, how to be a good person. So I love that you guys are doing that, where it's not just somebody telling you, me as a branding guy telling you, here's how to build your personal brand.
Of course.
You're interviewing everybody that's got their own insights and what we can learn from.
What's your biggest enjoyment when you work with a client and let's say you run them through your, sorry to make it so simple in my world, but you run them through your personal algorithm to get them the most amount. Let's just say they go from 6 figures to 7 figures and beyond. But what do you get the most self-fulfillment out of when you're working with a client?
I'm working on this. I have still got an ego. Probably need to work on that.
Who doesn't, man?
Yeah, everybody does.
Fire away. Fire away.
So I got a guy that's been a client here most of the year. I guess we're 6-7 months in. We had a call the other day. He said off the work that we've done for him already, he'll generate an extra $1.2 million this year in revenue.
Wow.
So not profitability, that's total sales.
Course,
I don't know what his profit margin is on it, but that's a cool thing to be able to have a guy tell you in less than a year he's doing over $1.2 million extra revenue that he wasn't going to do without you. I've had other people that work with us and then start interviewing other people, and they're always trying to expand the team, and I always want to cut down on cost. So I've got one that was he had brought on another, like a social media manager kind of, I think the person was just like posting on Instagram, Facebook, whatever kind of stuff. And then we had a call this morning, and that same client had said, I got to be honest with you, the reason I brought on this other person, training them in-house, was because I knew they're an expert, and they've got competitors that they've worked for that I knew they were doing a good job. And I was seeing if I could cut costs by maybe kind of having them learn what you're doing, and then maybe just, no hard feelings, but get a better deal. And the guy called this morning saying, I have figured out there is no way that we could possibly replace the results that you're doing.
Exactly.
But would you be willing to train her, let her work alongside you, and just handshake agreement that we're not going to replace you? So listen, if you can find somebody that'll do what I'm doing for you, absolutely, you absolutely need to hire them. No hard feelings. If I see you at an event, if I see at a conference, whatever, we're still friends. I still think it was awesome to work for you. There is so much business, so many people to help. If I ever run out of clients, that's my own fault. And if I'm charging enough money to where I can be easily replaced, if I'm charging enough and not doing enough work where I can be easily replaced, that's my own fault. So yes, I will bring her on. I'll absolutely let her work alongside me as we're doing our stuff there. And at the point that she's able to replace me, that's awesome. I know you're already sending referrals. So that's probably my funnest thing right there, is just knowing that it's an ego boost, but
sure. I mean,
but knowing that I cannot be replaced even by an expert who is working for his competitor.
But that's a talent developer that cares truly for people. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah. Everybody wants the most amount of clients and makes the most. But what I'm hearing for you is the biggest, baddest house isn't always the best. It's getting that self-satisfaction. Man, this guy's balling out of control. He's got 3 offices and 12 vans, and every service call in a 75-mile radius is going to him, under the example you gave earlier. So that's definitely inspirational.
So what's next for you, Curtis? Like, you have any big plans coming up as far as the business, or anything new that you can talk about that you're trying to start?
Yeah, so we're working right now. We've been running our Success, Motivation, Inspiration show on Amazon Fire TV since, I think that started 2018. We started the Success, Motivation, Inspiration brand as a podcast years and years ago. Have since stopped the podcast, gone into Amazon TV. We're working right now. I mean, I don't have any for sure thing that's going to happen, but we're looking at having that show turn into an actual network syndicated TV show, which would be kind of a cool, little upgrade there.
Very cool.
And then at this point, I am absolutely drowning in clients. I mean, as far as I told you, I'm doing 6 or 8 video calls a day, whether it's podcast guesting or interviewing people on Amazon TV that are paid clients. So I'm getting to a point now where we need to hire some additional somebody. I mean, not to pitch you here on your show, but maybe have one of you guys get on do interviews where we know you're asking good questions, highlighting showing people as experts, not trying to pitch your own stuff, and doing the interviews where that's something we can kind of.
Well, hey, I can't speak for Jason, but I know I'm pretty sure we'd love to do this.
I'm jumping through the screen and saying, sign me up. But that's, see, the humility that you've expressed to us, because I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I scratched my head and I say, man, after doing research with this guy, he's humble enough to talk to us. But what I found through this thing is you want very similar to what we are. You're just further up the, I hate to call it a totem pole, but you're just further along in your path, right? But you have the same heart and you want to see people succeed. Working in admissions and out of college, we're changing and shaping lives on a day-to-day basis. So when they're working on, planes, they're flying across America and everybody's happy. But I think you're going to have continued success because of the attitude you have. And success is cool for you. It's not necessarily the most amount of clients. I loved your piece of advice because I want to be successful enough to turn down a client, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to build our client base and we're not there, but I think that's a tip of my cap because you don't normally hear that. You normally hear, well, I was at 2,500 clients and I want to go to 3,000. Yeah, but if they're the right 3,000, let's grow it. If not, 2,750 is okay. Just throwing out random numbers. How can we find you on social media if I am trying to locate you or locate the information that you're the expert at? Where am I finding you from a social media
or
platform
if we're wanting
standpoint?
to hire you if somebody's wanting to hire you for your services?
So if you're on social media, again, I'm branding myself as a personal branding expert here on the Mosaic Minds podcast.
Mm-hmm.
If you are listening to this on whatever your favorite podcasting platform is, and you type M. Curtis McCoy into the search engine and you can't find me, I am the last guy you should ever hire. I mean, Google me. There's a kid in Nigeria who said he was starting a T-shirt brand using my quote. We had I was on a live, I think it was a Facebook video call where there's a big dog. I mean, the guy's got massive traffic, a whole lot bigger than I do. And we were all jumping on, doing kind of like a Zoom type video call there. And the guy asked some kind of a question. And I just in the chat, I posted something that was not what he was telling people to do. And I'm like, hey, just polite suggestion, try this out. And so this guy live said, who the F does this guy think he is? Does anybody know who M. Curtis McCoy is? And then people started chiming in. And it was the coolest thing. I mean, as far as, again, just an ego boost. I don't know that it helped him, but
social media army gets them.
But for the ego, everybody's going, he started bestseller. He had this supplement company, and just people are throwing out, the guy's the book has got however many Amazon reviews, sold however many copies, whatever, and they keep going through. But as that's all going on, I wasn't reading the chat. Guy said, who does he think he is? And so I just typed Google me.
Mm-hmm. I
mean, I'm not trying to be stuck up, but
no, I mean,
I don't need to tell you I'm a personal branding expert. Just, so a kid from Nigeria reached out later and he said, Mr. McCoy, I want to start my own business. I've been working on a motivational t-shirt company. He's doing like white label drop shipping. And he said, your quote, I don't think I have the money to be able to pay you to use your quote, but could I give you a revenue share? Could I give you a percentage off of each t-shirt sold? I'm like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. He said, I would like to make t-shirts. And he had a mock-up that said, Google me, M. Curtis McCoy. He had his, like the screenshot, the chat thing. I was like, man, use that for free. I hope everybody and their grandma buys a shirt. Send me the link and I'll buy one too. But
that's fantastic. That's a hell of a flex to be able just to be like, where can we find you on social media? Google me. I love that. That's great. That is fantastic.
But any platform, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, whatever, M. Curtis McCoy is the handle.
Okay.
TikTok. I mean, all of them I'm on pretty much everything.
Is that where they would find you too if they were wanting to hire you for branding?
You can go to mcurtismccoy.com.
Okay.
But the easiest thing, if you just reach out, send me an Instagram or a Facebook or a LinkedIn message, tell me you're looking to be featured on Amazon Fire TV, Newswire magazine. I'll send you guys a link here if you want to put it in the show notes.
Sure.
but mention that you saw me on that you saw the interview on the Mosaic Minds podcast. I'll give you guys. I'll send you a few $100 as a referral.
Awesome.
Just a little benefit for.
Okay. Yeah.
Always appreciate referrals.
That's great. Well, this has been a fascinating interview, and I really appreciate you taking the time out for us.
Yeah, no worries. Nick and Jason, man, it's been nice to be on you guys' show. I appreciate you having me as a guest.
Yeah. Hope we can talk again.
Tip my cap to you, and don't be afraid to use that description I gave of you, because that came from the heart.
Yeah,
I mean,
there you go.
You command a room. You're easy to talk to. You're knowledgeable, industry expert, and we'll see you at the top. We'll see you at the top of that building, man.